So I got this today, and this lug pattern is different than what's on the van. I'll have to drill some, but that's not a big deal. But I mounted this upside down from the way it's supposed to go. It's supposed to go this way. So then, what I'm planning on doing, like a box. The van's flat here and here, and this fits perfectly in that area. So I'm going to plan them out right there. And that should work. I already got the inside of the door off, getting ready for my wool. So a bolt there, and then right up there on that line there. So I'm going to get some large pieces of angle iron, put across, not angle iron, but just steel, put across there and across there for reinforcement. And it'll be perfect. So yeah, I think it's going to work. And I measured, if I mount it there, the center of the wheel will be about there, which means the top of it's going to be about right here, which is, let's see if I need to change that. That might work. I could drill my holes down a little bit, or I could just mount this whole thing upside down to where that's the top. Push the spare tire down some. Those are minor details, but I think it's going to work. So this comes with a 4.5 and a 5.5 bolt pattern. The Solis is a 5x130, which is actually 5x5.1. So I found this, which has 5x5, and I printed it off at 102%. So the way you measure these, and we're going to look at the 5 now, is you go from the outside of one, not to there, but across to the inside of the other. And if I measure that now, the white line, I'm at 130. So this is my template. What I have to do is put this on here upside down and center it. And I have to drill these holes and tap them 1/2 by 20. So I'm going to put a hole in there, line it up with that. Same with those. I'm going to line them up, and that'll put this in the center, and I'll know where now to drill these holes. Holes I need to drill for 1/2 by 20 is 7/16. So I'm going to work on getting this kind of set in place, and I'll come back. Alright, so I got these in here, and I'm going to drill these holes right here. The first thing I need to do is tape this down, and we'll go from there. Alright, so I got these holes started and marked with a smaller drill bit. Now I'm going to take this off and drill these all the way through with a 7/16. Alright, so I measured center of the door, and I marked the center of the bracket, put up here, marked my holes based off of where these are going to be on the bottom. I just drilled those two. Now I'm going to hang the bracket, make sure these marks are correct. Then I'm going to drill these 2 holes and leave the tape up for now. And then from there we will mount it. All right, so I got this up, and see my holes are slightly off. Well, that one's pretty good, but I'm gonna drill kind of in the middle of everything. And I haven't tapped these yet. These are coming today. I'll tap it on the van so it gives me some support, but I'm gonna go ahead and drill these holes. Start with the pilot hole, and then I move to the larger bit. That way it keeps it centered. I got the holes drilled, and I applied some rust preventative over the bare metal. Yeah, it looks ugly, but you know what? You're gonna have a big tire bracket over this, so it doesn't really matter. Let that dry for a few hours, and then we'll continue. All right, so while we're waiting for that to dry, sorry, I got a bunch of different projects going on here. Let me show you what I'm doing here. I'm gonna clean these up. I've got some spurs on them, but so this is for the inside of the door behind each bracket. So one of these for the bottom, one is for the top. The top one, I'm actually going to put this one in first, and I need to prop my phone up here. I'm going to put this one in the door first. You see I got the holes there because this has a little bit of flex to it. It's diamond plate. That way, if there's any type of flex on there, it's going to push against about 6 inches high of the door panel as opposed to just the little strip. And then this strip's going to go behind it like that, just for a more rigid support. So that's what I'm doing with those. I'm going to clean up the spurs on these a little bit. Got some spurs on there, and then get these ready to put in. And I'm able to flip the tire up, the bracket right side up or upside down. So I also have these rubber gaskets that I made that I'm going to be putting on the outside of the van, between the bracket and the van, to create a water seal, because I don't want any water getting in. I thought about using some Sikaflex or something like that, but I don't want to do that initially. I want to make sure that the direction I'm putting the mount on is right, and if I want to flip it later. So later on, I'm probably going to replace this with Sikaflex. This is just temporary. And I actually made them out of a bike tube. So anyhow, this is my plan for that. And then my license plate holder is showing up today, so I'll go through the process. It's going to stick out really far. We got to cut that down and come up with a way to hold that in place once I cut it down, because I want it really flush to the wheel. So we'll get into that probably tomorrow. Anyhow, so this is the interior bracing of the tire mount. I'm making some progress here. So I've got this mounted up. I still don't have my tap. That should be here today. So you see they have a rubber gasket back here. These, you have washer, lock washer, bolt. And I pushed this back as far as I could. It's adjustable since I've got the room there. And then on the inside, I've got metal brace there, and then the larger one up there. And I can actually lift myself up on this, and it's really sturdy. So that's how that's going. As soon as I get the my threading tool in, my tap, I'm going to tap these, and then these are the bolts that go in it. You got lock washers here that go on that, and those will go on. And then it comes with these lug nuts. Probably have to get a locking one. And then I'll need to mount my license plate holder, which is going to go here on the outside of the wheel. I pick up my 5th wheel and tire on Tuesday. I have those So, but I'll probably take one of these off after I get those lugs on so we can do a test fit and see how it all fits. So yeah, coming along really well. All right, so here's where we are. I ran two wires through here. I drilled a 7/16 hole here and put in this grommet. Ran the wires through the grommet here for my light for the license plate, and I just had this kind of taped off for now to keep them out of the way. And on the inside, what that looks like is that hole is down inside here, and I ran the wires. I'm going to take those up in a second. Splice them into, I disconnected both of the tag lights here, taped off that connector, cut the connector off here, and then spliced it in. So now I'm going to finish my wool and put the panel back on in here, and this will be done. And then I'm just waiting on the rest of that for the tire. So making progress. All right, so we just did some modifications. I just cut that down and used my welder, and I welded, well, I tapped the piece of metal here and I welded the rod to it. Then I welded that plate to my license plate holder because I don't like just those screws there that we're going to hold it on, and I wanted to shorten it. So I cut that piece too. Now we're going to paint it. My welds aren't the prettiest, but they do hold. So on paint. All right, so there, I got it mounted. These bottom holes don't line up with my screws anyhow, and that's just in there finger tight right now. So anyhow, that's going to have a washer on it with a lock nut, but you can see I cut that down so the tires, the wheels, only about 2 inches. This is, no, 1 3/4 inches. This is about 2 1/4 here. So the wheel will fit in here, and this will just be right on top of that. Of course, the lugs will go in place of these, and that's how that's going to fit. I got some lights coming I'll put on here, and we'll be good to go. So all right, so I installed the lights there, right there. They're here and here, and they just screw on. And you got the wiring in here. I still got to shrink wrap that and then tape some of this, but that's how the wiring's going to be. So you unplug this, slide it out of there to take this off to get your tire off. Pretty simple. Okay, so tires all mounted up. I did not record tapping the holes in here, so I got the holes tapped. Lugs are on there. This fits nice and snug through here, which is great. My connectors for the lights are here. You can see how close this sits to the van as well. So really happy with the way it turned out. I think this tire must have been sitting for a while at the factory because it's got spider eggs on it. Yeah, so there it is. It doesn't stick out really any further than my bike rack. And then, if any of you guys have this bike rack, use Velcro, because if you don't, this thing will fall. And that's how it clears. Perfect. Okay, so when I hooked this up and hooked up my lights here, I disconnected the bulbs here. They're still here, I just unplugged them. And by doing that, since these LED lights don't draw as much current, I now have a light on the dashboard saying that I have my license plate lights are out. So I'm going to take this panel off and hook those two lights back up. All right, so I have these two hooked up, and something else that I didn't show everybody, I kind of did this after the fact, was I decided to reinforce the spare tire mount. So I got these pieces of steel, tapped some holes, put these screws in, and then ran these all the way through. So these are actually the bolts that hold on the mount. I did that on the bottom as well. So these go all the way through. So I have created a lot of rigidness by mounting to this part of the door. So that spare tire is not going anywhere. Really, really happy with the way that turned out. So yeah, I got to put the wool back in, and done with that project.